The art of inner fortitude. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. A strong mind doesn't shout. It doesn't flinch. It doesn't need validation. The first step to building a terrifyingly powerful mind is understanding that real strength lies in what can't be seen. Your ability to endure, to detach, and to remain unmoved. This chapter introduces the foundation of Stoic thought, that all suffering comes from within, not from the events themselves, but from how we interpret them. The Stoics train their minds daily not to be emotionless robots, but to be emotionally invincible. You'll learn why emotional discipline is more fearsome than brute force, how to begin detaching from reactive thinking, the practice of morning reflection and evening self-audit, why the unshakable are often the most misunderstood. Silence is the loudest roar. Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. Stoic parable. To many, silence is weakness. To the Stoic, silence is dominance. A strong mind doesn't seek to prove itself. It is terrifying because it can watch chaos unfold and say nothing. This chapter explores the philosophy of laconism, short, purposeful speech, how to resist the urge to argue, explain, or defend, the power of stillness in conversation, building a presence so rooted in calm it unsettles others. You'll begin to see how silence unnerves the insecure, and how a few words delivered with clarity and calm can shake more than a storm of emotion ever could. Control the controllables. The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Epictetus. This chapter dives deep into the dichotomy of control, the Stoic bedrock. The person who no longer agonizes over what others think, what cannot be changed, or the randomness of fortune becomes untouchable, terrifying in their peace. You'll explore the mental blueprint for sorting what you can control versus what you must release, how modern minds suffer because they resist reality, practical methods to reframe setbacks instantly, why surrendering control is not weakness, but the highest form of self-mastery, the power of negative visualization. He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. Seneca. This might seem like a strange concept. Imagine the worst. But that's exactly what the Stoics did, and it made them mentally bulletproof. This chapter unpacks premeditatio malorum, the practice of imagining loss, pain, and failure, not to become pessimistic, but to become resilient. When you no longer fear loss, others begin to fear your strength. Learn how to practice negative visualization daily without becoming morbid, turning worst-case scenarios into sources of courage, letting go of attachment to people, outcomes, and ego. Why detachment creates magnetic, intimidating confidence, indifference to praise and blame. If you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. Marcus Aurelius. A truly strong mind doesn't rise with praise or fall with blame. It remains constant. That constancy terrifies people who are used to manipulating others through validation or criticism. This chapter reveals how to build inner metrics for success, resisting the social trap of needing to be liked or understood, seeing praise and criticism as two sides of the same coin, becoming emotionally sovereign when you need nothing from others, not approval, not reassurance, not forgiveness. You become something rare, immune, practicing voluntary discomfort. Set aside now and then a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, asking yourself, is this the condition I feared? Seneca. The Stoics train like warriors of the mind. They practice sleeping on hard floors, eating plain food, walking in ragged clothes, not because they had to, but to kill their fear of hardship. This chapter invites you to experiment with small, chosen discomforts. Build your tolerance to chaos and unpredictability. Realize how few of your needs are real. Learn to do without so you are never controlled by loss. The person who is not addicted to comfort is feared in a soft world. Amor fati, love of fate. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Marcus Aurelius. The Stoic warrior doesn't just accept fate, they love it. Every misfortune, every rejection, every loss is fuel for their fire. They turn pain into power. And that mindset, that adaptability, it's unstoppable and unsettling to watch. This chapter breaks down how to rewire your mind to embrace adversity, the difference between resistance and radical acceptance, turning betrayal, pain, and failure into refinement, the fearlessness that comes from embracing everything as necessary, death as a daily teacher. Let each thing you would do, say, or intend be like that of a dying person. Marcus Aurelius' death is the ultimate equalizer and the ultimate motivator. The Stoics meditated on death not to depress themselves, but to sharpen focus. A person who walks with death in mind, speaks carefully, loves fiercely, and wastes nothing. That kind of clarity is rare and intimidating. Explore. Memento mori. How to practice remembering death without morbidness. Living with urgency, not anxiety. Making every moment count and releasing what doesn't. Why fear of death weakens the mind and how to end it. The discipline of perception. Choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. Marcus Aurelius. How we interpret events determines whether we rise or fall. A strong mind isn't blind to negativity. It simply sees it differently. The Stoics mastered the reframe. This chapter gives tools to instantly shift how you see adversity, turn insult into insight, loss into lesson, neutralize emotional triggers with objective clarity, build the observer mind, detached, wise, and unbothered. Becoming the mountain. Stand firm like a cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands unmoved and the raging of the sea falls back. Marcus Aurelius. The final chapter fuses it all: presence, peace, detachment, discipline. When the mind becomes unshakable, people begin to question how you can be so calm in the chaos. They admire you, fear you, want to be like you, or take you down. But nothing moves the mountain. Here you'll integrate the daily rituals for strengthening your mind, how to embody Stoic principles without preaching them, when to speak, when to stay silent, and when to simply walk away, how to lead by example and become a presence that unsettles the weak, detached from the identity illusion. You are just a soul carrying a corpse. Epictetus. We spend our lives defending identities, our status, our titles, our beliefs. But the Stoic sees these as roles, not the self. The truly powerful mind has no ego to protect and nothing to prove. That makes it impossible to manipulate. In this chapter, discover the illusion of fixed identity and ego. Learn to play your roles, parent, leader, artist, without becoming them. Practice role reversal and perspective exercises to weaken ego clinging. Understand why identity detachment leads to quiet, terrifying confidence. Mastering emotional alchemy. The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes, the obstacle to our acting. Dear Marcus Aurelius. The most terrifying person isn't the one who suppresses emotions, it's the one who transforms them. The Stoic doesn't ignore anger, fear, or grief. They transmute them into drive, clarity, and resolve. Learn how to use journaling and breathwork to name and transform emotions. Turn rejection into redirection, heartbreak into humility, fear into focus. Harness your inner heat without being burned by it. Train your nervous system to default to response, not reaction. Unshakable equanimity. A wise man is neither raised up by prosperity nor cast down by adversity. Seneca. A truly Stoic mind rests in a middle place. It does not crash in failure, nor does it become intoxicated by success. This calm, centered energy confuses people, because we're taught to chase highs and dread lows. In this chapter, explore techniques for cultivating emotional evenness. Practice emotional fasting to recalibrate highs and lows. Embrace impermanence, the antidote to attachment and entitlement. Build the habit of non-reactivity in both triumph and loss. The warrior philosopher's discipline. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Epictetus. You cannot terrify others with words, only with action. The Stoic warrior trains in private, disciplines his thoughts relentlessly, and moves through life with quiet, lethal integrity. This chapter outlines a modern Stoic's daily training regimen, mental plus physical, integrating fitness, minimalism, fasting, and journaling into daily life. Why physical hardship enhances mental clarity. How to live as a calm, composed, quietly powerful presence. Solitude is the source of strength. Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look. Marcus Aurelius. While the world screams for attention, the Stoic retreats inward. Time alone is not isolation. It is the forge of the strong mind. Those who fear solitude fear their own thoughts. But you'll turn solitude into sanctuary. In this chapter, reframe solitude as power, not punishment. Create sacred space for daily withdrawal and contemplation. Use intentional time alone to clarify values, direction, and detachment. Understand why true strength makes you dangerously self-contained. The philosophy of steadfast action. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. Words are cheap, opinions are loud, but action? Stoics act, not rashly, not emotionally, but with quiet decisiveness. They move like water, patient, consistent, unstoppable. You'll discover the Stoic method of deliberate action rooted in reason, how to escape analysis, paralysis through clarity of values, why stillness precedes powerful decisions, how quiet execution creates awe, and sometimes fear. Walking the edge, embracing mortality in every breath. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Marcus Aurelius. To walk through life aware that it could end at any moment and still love, serve, create, and lead? That is the apex of Stoic power. The fear of death is the root of all hesitation. Once removed, you become limitless. This final advanced chapter invites you to incorporate daily death contemplation rituals. Memento mori. Use your awareness of mortality to eliminate procrastination. Build legacy, not comfort. Live with such focused intensity that your presence becomes unforgettable. Lead without needing to be followed. A man who has committed a mistake and doesn't correct it is committing another mistake. Marcus Aurelius, paraphrased. True leaders don't announce themselves. They act with integrity and allow others to follow, or not. A Stoic leader doesn't bend to applause, nor break under resistance. Their compass is internal. That unnerves people who need constant feedback to act. This chapter covers how to lead by principle, not permission. The difference between influence and attention. Setting standards silently and letting others rise or fall. Developing the energy of leadership without control. Unchained by the past, unafraid of the future. Don't let your reflection on the whole sweep of life crush you. Don't fill your mind with all the bad things that might still happen. Marcus Aurelius. Most people live stuck in yesterday's regret or tomorrow's fear. A Stoic mind lives only in the now. This doesn't mean you forget the past or neglect the future. It means they hold no power over you. In this chapter, techniques to dissolve regret and guilt through Stoic reframing. Mental training to stop fear of future failure or embarrassment. Building presence through breath and brutal honesty. Why the moment you own this moment, you become untouchable. Transcending comparison. How much time he gains who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only at what he does himself. Marcus Aurelius. Envy and comparison are diseases of the mind. The Stoic finds peace and fearsome strength in focusing solely on their lane. They don't compare. They don't compete. they cultivate. You'll learn how to end envy through radical self-direction, using gratitude as an antidote to comparison, breaking the addiction to social metrics, likes, followers, income, developing a terrifying individuality, detachment from outcome, obsession with process. Do not aim at being held in high esteem by others. He who cares for his soul and seeks the truth does not concern himself with reputation. Epictetus. The Stoic mind obsesses not over winning, but over doing things well. When you lose attachment to results, you become terrifying, because you cannot be bribed, manipulated, or defeated by delay. This chapter shows how to fall in love with the process, training, learning, mastery, why Stoics play the long game in everything, mental shifts to make peace with failure, rejection, and stagnation, how process orientation makes you outlast everyone. Grace under fire. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. What makes a person truly formidable is not what they do when it's easy, but what they become when it's hard. Stoic grace in adversity terrifies others, because it's rare. When others panic, you remain poised. You'll explore emotional cooling methods for high-pressure situations, Stoic rituals to prepare for crisis, criticism, or betrayal, how to use breath, posture, and internal dialogue to project presence, becoming the still point in any storm. No one can give or take your peace. It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. Epictetus. Once you understand that your peace doesn't come from others, no one can take it from you. The one who owns their inner world can walk through any outer chaos untouched. This final major chapter offers a Stoic code of personal sovereignty, why people try to steal your peace, and how to let them fail, how to develop an unstealable emotional baseline, becoming the person others rely on but cannot shake. The aura of the unshaken. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. There's a presence that doesn't need to speak, a calm that unsettles, a gaze that reflects back everything you are and everything you're not. This is the final form of Stoicism, the silent presence. You no longer apply Stoic principles like tools. You are them. You move with awareness, but not effort. You hold composure, but not rigidity. You speak only when necessary, and when you do, it lands with weight. The deathless mind. He who has conquered himself is truly free. Epictetus. Most people fear death because they never fully lived. The Stoic doesn't fear death because they die daily. To pride, fear, ego, and illusion. What remains is a mind beyond life and death. This chapter explores how to practice ego death through meditation and humility, why the deathless mind embraces mortality without attachment, building a philosophy so ingrained it lives beyond your physical form, becoming unkillable in spirit, because you fear nothing inside, serve without chains. Do your duty and let it go. Marcus Aurelius. The Stoic serves not for praise nor applause nor obligation, but because service is the natural expression of mastery. But unlike the martyr, the Stoic serves without chains. This chapter reveals how to help without attachment to outcomes, leading and giving without being drained or controlled, avoiding the savior complex and staying grounded in clarity, becoming the one who helps and walks away clean. The path of sacred indifference. Indifference is not neglect, it is elevation. To the untrained, Stoic indifference looks cold, but to those who understand, it is the highest form of care, the kind that's not ruled by emotion, but by principle and truth. You will learn the power of sacred detachment, how to care deeply, but not cling, holding space for others without absorbing their chaos, practicing divine neutrality in conflict, love, and leadership. Why detachment increases love, respect, and clarity. Owning nothing, possessing everything. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Epictetus. When you own nothing internally, no desire, no title, no need, you become the most powerful being in the room. You can walk away from anything, and no one can take anything from you. In this chapter, why internal poverty equals external power. Practicing minimalism of thought, speech, and desire. Building a relationship with life where nothing sticks and everything flows. Mastering non-attachment in love, success, fame, and even your mission. Beyond Stoicism, the philosopher ascends. Philosophy is not a subject. It is a way of being. Stoicism was never the destination. It was the path to prepare you for transcendence, into something greater, subtler, and eternal. In this final chapter of transformation, how to evolve from philosopher to sage, moving from mental strength to spiritual clarity, becoming a guardian of wisdom, not just a user of it. The quiet transformation from human to legend. The one who remains, withdraw into yourself. It is in the nature of the rational mind to be self-content with acting rightly, and the calm it thereby enjoys. The Marcus Aurelius. There is a figure who appears in times of chaos, not to save, not to conquer, but simply to remain, unshaken, unbothered, unmoved. They are the one who remains after the noise fades, after the crowd panics, after the ego burns away. They are not the hero, not the leader, not even the teacher. They are the presence. This chapter is not about what you do. It's about who you've become